in an incident involving police officers in Kitengela Town, Kajiado County. Honorable Speaker, on 25th January 2026, Mr. Kevin Masari and Mr. Joseph Mosondo were shot at a nightclub in Kitengela Town, Kajiado County, following an altercation with persons now known to be police officers. Unfortunately, Mr. Masari later succumbed to gunshot injuries. This incident has sparked serious public concerns regarding the protocols of use of firearms by law enforcement officers, and recently, Pauline Wanjiku and Purity Mwatia at Kitengela Market. Honorable Speaker, in the statement, the committee should address the following: the status of investigations into the shooting of Mr. Kevin Masari and Joseph Mosondo, including specific updates on whether the matter was registered with the Independent Police Oversight Authority, POA, where the police officers involved in the incident have recorded their statements, whether the CCTV footage from the neighborhood club has been secured on prevent tampering, and if it will be released upon the prosecution of those involved, whether the firearms used in the incident have been identified, and whether the investigations are expected to be completed and the finding made public. 2, the reasons for the delay in arresting and prosecuting suspects, whether the police officers involved in the incident have been interdicted and subjected to any other internal disciplinary processes pending conclusion of investigation. The steps taken by witnesses and ensure them of their safety during and after investigation. Senator Kanar Seki, Senator Kajiado. Thank you.
Senator from Busia County, the Honorable Senator Andrew Omtata.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I request for a statement on the failure by the National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, to enforce road traffic safety management system. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 53, clause 1, to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Roads, Transportation and Housing on a matter of nationwide concern regarding the failure by the National Transport and Safety Authority, brackets NTSA, to enforce the road safety management system as provided under the National Transport and Safety Authority Act of 2012 and its subsidiary legislation. Mr. Speaker, sir, road traffic fatalities and serious injuries have continued to rise over the past 3 years, claiming thousands of lives annually, causing life-altering disabilities, and costing the economy hundreds of billions of shillings. The National Transport and Safety Authority, NTSA, has failed to enforce key statutory safety measures, including ISO 39001 of 2021, Road Traffic Safety Management Systems, structured accident investigations, journey and fatigue management, and real-time monitoring. The authority has not adequately considered professional proposals to strengthen road safety management. In the statement, the committee should address the following. 1, measures the National Transport and Safety Authority has taken to implement and enforce road traffic safety management systems as required under existing law, including compliance, monitoring, stakeholder coordination, capacity building, and accountability mechanisms. 2, underlying factors contributing to continued rise in road traffic fatalities and serious injuries, despite the presence of legislative and regulatory frameworks, and an explanation of gaps in enforcement, oversight, and interagency coordination that may be undermining their effectiveness. 3, whether NTSA has evaluated or adopted structured road safety management frameworks aligned with international best practices, including globally recognized standards and evidence-based interventions, and if not, the reasons for the delay. 4, specific policy, administrative, institutional, and enforcement reforms currently being implemented or planned to curb the increasing trend of road traffic accidents, improve compliance, strengthen monitoring and evaluation systems, and ensure measurable reductions in fatalities and serious injuries. Signed, Andrew Mtata MP, Senator from Busia, 16th February 2026. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Senator for Bomet County, Honorable Wakili Hillary Sigei.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to make a request for a statement on the administration of the Facilities Improvement Fund, FIF, in Bomet County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53-1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on a matter of county-wide concern regarding the administration of the Facility Improvement Fund, FIF, in Bomet County. The Facility Improvement Financing Act, Mr. Speaker, provides that all monies raised or received by or on behalf of all public health facilities shall be retained by the facilities and considered as a supplement to their allocated budgets. This was meant to address long-standing underfunding challenges by enabling public health facilities to obtain supplementary resources to support their routine operations and strengthen the quality and efficiency of service delivery. However, Mr. Speaker, I am aware of concerns that in Bomet County, the Social Health Insurance Fund remittance for health facilities in the county is channeled directly to the accounts of the Bomet County government on a circular that was issued, giving a percentage of that amount. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, the committee should address the following. 1, the legality of the Bomet County Health Facility Improvement and Public Health Financing Policy, and the role of the Chief Officer Health Services in approving expenditures from individual facilities improvement financing accounts. 2, the status of disbursements of facilities improvement financing to all public health facilities in Bomet County and their respective authority to incur expenditure AIE standing. 3, the legal basis for the establishment and operation of the following collection accounts, including whether the process of establishment and operation of the accounts received the requisite approvals and concurrence. 1, KCB account number 1142688135, Bomet County Health Department. 2, Cooperative Bank account number 0114135763910, Bomet East Sub-County Tegat Health Center. 3, Cooperative Bank account number 0114135771510, Bomet Central Sub-County Kapkoros Health Center. 4, KCB account number 11176791012, Chepalungu Sub-County Sigor Hospital FIF. 5, Cooperative Bank account number 900, Sotik Sub-County, Ndanai Health Center, and 6, Cooperative Bank account number 011 411 3423 2000, Konoin FIF account. 4, Mr. Speaker, the total amount of funds remitted from the specified collection accounts from the period July 2024 to date, and the manner in which the remitted funds were administered and or utilized. 5, the justification for remitting the funds to the county government instead of retaining them at the facility level as required by law. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, appropriate corrective measures and actions, including legal actions, administrative measures, or audit sanctions taken against any officer found to have mismanaged, diverted, or otherwise abused the facilities improvement financing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Signed, Senator Wakili Sigei, Senator Bomet County. I thank you.
Senator for Kirinyaga County, the Honorable James Morango. That statement is dropped. Senator Faki, Senator for Mombasa County.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimesimama kuambatana na kifungu cha 53(1) cha kanuni za kudumu za Bunge la Seneti kuomba taarifa kutoka kwa kamati ya kudumu ya afya kuhusiana na jambo la umuhimu wa kitaifa kuhusu hali ya huduma na utawala katika hospitali kuu ya Coast General. Mheshimiwa Spika, hospitali hii ni nguzo muhimu kwa afya kwa wakazi wa kaunti ya Mombasa na maeneo jirani ya Pwani, na changamoto zinazotokeza zinaweza kuathiri maisha ya wananchi wengi. Mnamo siku ya Jumapili, Mheshimiwa Spika, tarehe 22 mwezi wa Februari mwaka huu, katibu wa kaunti ya Mombasa alitoa taarifa kumsimamisha kazi afisa mkuu mtendaji wa hospitali hiyo Dr. Handwala kufuatia mkutano wa bodi ya kurugenzi ya hospitali hiyo. Kufuatia uamuzi huo, Mheshimiwa Spika, chama cha madaktari kupitia kwa ofisi yao ya Mombasa wametoa taarifa ya kumuunga mkono Dr. Handwala, wakionya kuwa watachukua hatua zisizojulikana iwapo watarudishwa kazini kwa muda wa siku 7. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika taarifa hiyo kamati iangazia yafuatayo: hali ya huduma za afya kwa sasa, ikiwemo changamoto zinazokabili wagonjwa na wahudumu wa hospitali, hususan maelezo kuhusu kifo cha marehemu Ali Kibwana na mazingira yaliyopelekea kucheleweshwa kwa huduma kwake. Pili, Mheshimiwa Spika, utaratibu wa usimamizi na uwajibikaji uliotumika katika kusimamishwa kazi kwa afisa mtendaji mkuu wa hospitali hiyo. 3, mikakati ya serikali ya kaunti ya Mombasa ya kuboresha huduma na kuimarisha miundombinu ya hospitali hiyo. 4, hatua za dharura na za muda mrefu zinazochukuliwa ili kuzuia mgomo wa madaktari na kuhakikishia wananchi wanapata huduma bila ya usumbufu. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Senator Mohamed Faki Mwenyehaji, Senator Mombasa County.
Senator for Kilifi County, the Honorable Stewart Majaya.
Asante Mstahiki Spika. Mstahiki Spika, nasimama kwa mujibu wa kanuni za kudumu kipengele cha 53 sheria ya kwanza za Seneti kuomba kauli kutoka kwa kamati ya usalama wa taifa, ulinzi na uhusiano wa kimataifa kuhusu ukame mkali na baa la njaa linalokithiri katika kaunti ya Kilifi. Mstahiki Spika, katika kauli hiyo, kamati hii inapaswa kujibu maswali yafuatayo. Mstahiki Spika, swali la kwanza ni kwamba tunataka kamati hii ieleze hatua ambazo mamlaka ya kitaifa ya kusimamia ukame na taasisi husika za serikali zimeweka ili kukabiliana na hali ya dharura ya ukame katika kaunti ya Kilifi. Mstahiki Spika, swali la pili ni kwamba nataka kamati hii ijibu iwapo mradi wa ugavi wa chakula cha misaada kimetekelezwa katika maeneo yaliyoathirika na ukame katika kaunti hii ya Kilifi, na ripoti hiyo itueleze maeneo yaliyopokea misaada hii, idadi na maelezo ya walionufaika, kiwango cha misaada iliyopeanwa, pamoja na uthibitisho wa usawa na haki katika ugavi wa misaada kwa jamii zilizoathirika. Swali la tatu ni kwamba kamati hii kutufafanulia kwa uwazi iwapo sababu za kimazingira katika vile ukataji wa miti wa kiholela umaarufu logging imechangia pakubwa kwa kuongeza kwa hali ya ukame katika kaunti ya Kilifi, na kama kuna mikakati ambayo serikali imeweka katika upunguzaji wa athari hizi na ukame na biashara haramu za uuzaji wa makaa. Na mwisho, Bwana Spika, kamati hii iweze kueleza ni hatua gani zilizowekwa na serikali ili kujenga ustahimilivu dhidi ya ukame inaoshinda ikiathiri wakaazi wa kaunti ya Kilifi na maeneo mengine nchini Kenya. Asante, Mr. Speaker.
Now, honorable senators, I will allow comments for not more than 15 minutes. So if you have a chance to speak, kindly do so for not more than 3 minutes. The senator for Nairobi City County, Senator Edwin Sifuna.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wanted to comment on the statement by the Senator for Kajiado regarding the shooting incidents in Kajiado, specifically Kitengela, Honorable Speaker. In my view, Speaker, there is a problem with the police in Kitengela because it cannot be that across the country we are only hearing a concentration of these incidents in Kitengela. Yesterday we met with the widow of our brother Vincent Ayomo. Her name is Hadija. She has a small little child there, I think less than 18 months. Somebody will now get to grow up without a father. Vincent was shot during, on the same day that we had a rally in Kitengela. And by the way, the family told us he was shot hours after the rally was over. We are now hearing about Kevin and Joseph in the statement that has been made by Senator Seki. We saw incidents involving Pauline and Purity, who were shot inside their shops because they were running battles there with police regarding the new market. There is an issue, Honorable Speaker, and we don't want to appear like we blanket condemn police officers. I have had similar events in Busia, for instance, Honorable Speaker. The police facilitated us to have a proper meeting. So there has to be a problem with the police in Kitengela. And as a member of the committee to which this statement is going to be committed, one of the things I think we must insist on is either a reshuffling or a transfer of all the officers there, because it just doesn't make any sense that it is always Kitengela, Honorable Speaker. There has to be an issue with the police. And we will continue to urge our national police that we will support you to be able to maintain law and order. But please, let us respect the sanctity of life. It doesn't make any sense, Honorable Speaker, that just days before the expiry of the MOU in which we agreed that these are going to be things of the past, that people are still being shot by police. We have heard from IPOA the challenges they are facing in investigating and bringing these people to book. Honorable Speaker, as a country, we must express the outrage that now something needs to be done to our police, and especially starting with the police in Kitengela. There is a problem there. Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Senator Chute.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Ningependa kusaidiana na bwana Mheshimiwa Senator Madzayo. Nataka kumshukuru sana kuleta hoja hii ya mambo ya kiangazi. Marsabit County, Wajir, Mandera, Turkana, Garissa na makaunti nyingi wako na shida. Tabu ile tuko nayo Mheshimiwa Spika, chakula, mpangilio mzuri ya kupeleka chakula hiko. Unaweza kusikia chakula inanunuliwa hapa, inaenda kwa transportation, ikifika mahali kama Isiolo imepunguzwa, ikifika kwa store ya National Cereals and Produce Board imenyolewa kidogo, inatoka hapo inaenda kwa ofisi ya DC, DO, chiefs, inatolewa. Wakati imefika kwa mwananchi ile ya kawaida, chakula imetoka hapa, 60% ama hata 70% imeisha kwa barabara hiyo. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka komiti hii ambaye imepatiwa jukumu ishughulikie mambo ya chakula vile inaenda. Chakula ukiangalia Mheshimiwa Spika, vile inaenda haiendi mahali saa zingine watu wako na shida, inaenda mahali ambaye pengine group ya watu fulani wanataka iende. Na mahali ingetakikana iende bado wanalia. Mheshimiwa Spika, saa hii hatuna mvua kwetu. Mimi nilienda Marsabit hivi karibuni. Nimeenda villages nyingi sana. Watu wanalia chakula na maji. Chakula na maji. Hii serikali yetu ya UDA kila siku nasema tunaenda Singapore. Utaenda Singapore namna gani? Na watu tulienda mahali inaitwa Turich. Mheshimiwa Spika, mama akasimama akasema jerikeni 2 ya mafuta ya maji ambaye ni lita 20, lita 40, anapatiwa rationing after 3 days. Baada ya siku 3 ndio anapata ration ya hiyo maji. Sasa kama mama, family mzima wanapata lita 40 kwa siku 3. Hiyo ndio ya kupika, hiyo ndio ya kufua, hii ndio kuosha watoto, hii ndio ya kuosha nguo. Kweli si tuko Kenya kweli? Si tuko dunia gani? Hata Somalia hakuna shida kama hiyo. Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, hii hoja imeletwa na Senator Madzayo. Hii komiti hata watembee. Wasikae tu hapa, watembee waone wake iko namna gani. Marsabit iko aje, Turkana iko aje. Sasa tunasema Singapore ni nini? Watu ya Marsabit wanataka kufika hata headquarter ya Marsabit, mahali headquarter yenyewe wafike. Sasa utafika headquarter namna gani? Tuko na shida kubwa sana, Honorable Speaker. Hii mambo ichukuliwe hatua kabisa. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Speaker.
Senator Maanzo. Senator Wambua.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa kunipatia nafasi hii pia na mimi nichangie taarifa ambayo imetolewa na kiongozi wa walio wachache, seneta wa kaunti la Kilifi. Bwana Spika, hii taarifa ikifikishwa kwa kamati na wakienda kuangazia mambo ya ukame na njaa ambayo imekita mizizi huko Kilifi, pia wakumbuke eneo la Ukambani ambako pia ili jambo limekithiri. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka kusema ya kwamba siku chache zimepita, mimi nimekuwa nikitazama nikiona malori kubwa, matrela yanapita kwa barabara ya Garissa kuelekea Garissa na mpaka Mandera kupeleka chakula, na sio chakula tu cha binadamu, pia chakula kwa wanyama. Wale wako kule wanashughulikiwa, wanyama wao wanashughulikiwa. Ya kusababisha Bwana Spika ni kwamba hayo malori yanapitia Ukambani, Kitui, ambako pia watu wako na shida ya njaa, na shida ya maji, kuna shida ya mifugo pia kupata lishe. Kwa hiyo ningependa Bwana Spika kuuliza hiyo kamati kama basi watakubaliana kutembea kwenda Marsabit na Turkana na Wajir na Garissa, pia wapitie Kitui, kwa sababu Kitui pia ni Kenya. Na kuna njaa na kuna shida ya maji, kuna shida ya chakula. Na Speaker, unajua tunayo serikali ambayo iko kwa ofisi siku ya leo. Na jukumu la kwanza la serikali ni kulisha watu wake na kuhakikisha wale watu kuna amani na utulivu. Sasa hii Bwana Speaker, na tuko naye hapa kiongozi wa walio wengi, atusikilize. Bwana Speaker Cheruyot atusikilize, kwa sababu yeye ndiye kiongozi wa walio wengi katika bunge la Seneti. Hii taarifa ipelekewe kiongozi wa nchi kwamba kuna maeneo katika nchi yetu ya Kenya ambao wako na shida na wataka chakula. Na mimi nikisikiliza mawaziri wakisema ati wale watu ambao wako na shida ni watu milioni 3.3, mimi nashangaa Kenya gani hii?
Senator Aaron Cheriot.
You know, I serve in this house as a senator for Kericho and as a legislator. So I am equally allowed to ask questions and not be directed on what to say, like Senator Wambo is trying to imply. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to, of course, I sympathize with the drought situation in the country, and I'll be remiss, Mr. Speaker, if I don't say that this is an issue that needs to be treated with the seriousness it deserves. In fact, the responsible committee, Mr. Speaker, what they should do is to get the minister before us so that we know what is the distribution, Mr. Speaker, of this food relief effort exercise across the country, so that we are clear about it. We know, because just seated here as 47 senators, we know which are the hardest hit part of the country and why they deserve. Mr. Speaker, drought relief efforts should never be about a thing of politics, because I see many times people want to make it as if it's a political issue. It's a situation that needs to be addressed, Mr. Speaker, and hopefully we can put that to be behind us. But that's not the reason why I rose to speak, Mr. Speaker, only that I felt it's important to speak about it. I rise to support this statement by Senator Okiya Omtata, Mr. Speaker, on this implementation of the National Transport Road Traffic Safety Management System, as per the law that we passed here in 2012, Mr. Speaker. I saw that NTSA recently appointed a Director General, I think Mr. Nashon Kondiwa, if I'm not wrong. And from his resume, Mr. Speaker, he served as a Deputy Director for ICT. Mr. Kondiwa needs to know that in 3 months' time, if we don't have that system running, Mr. Speaker, he will actually have failed us. We cannot continue to lose lives, Mr. Speaker, the way we do on our roads, week after week. Yet we know, Mr. Speaker, that much as we have challenges on road construction and many other things that are causing all these accidents, drivers who drive recklessly, Mr. Speaker, are a contributing factor. And the only way which you can handle that particular issue, Mr. Speaker, is to ensure that the reckless drivers are punished and banished from our roads, Mr. Speaker. And the only way you can do that is by having this system that will be able to flag them out, Mr. Speaker, charged in court, Mr. Speaker, and ensure that we keep rogue drivers out of our roads. Therefore, I expect that the Transport Committee, led by, I think, Senator Eddie Okech, Mr. Speaker, will look into this matter with the urgency it deserves. It is not right for the numbers that we continue to lose year on year, and there are thousands, on account of rogue and reckless driving. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Beatrice Ogola.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the statement of the Senator for Bungoma County, Senator Wakoli, who is also the Majority Whip. Honorable Speaker, this is a statement on a climate-led action called FLOCA, funded by the World Bank, Honorable Speaker, to the county governments. Honorable Speaker, a lot of funds have been disbursed to county governments in the past year to address climate-related issues. And Honorable Speaker, I support it because of the essence of environmental issues in our country and in the world, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, from the environment, mankind survives from the environment. From the environment, we get food. From the environment, we are able to get clothing. From the environment, we are able to get shelter. From the environment, Honorable Speaker, we are able to get medicine for our use. And so it is important that we take care of this environment. But Honorable Speaker, the reason why I also want to support this statement is that the same county governments also have funds in their environment departments. It should be very clear, and the sectors in the county, is that how much do they use that the counties appropriate in their normal funds that they have, and how much and what do they do with the monies that have been disbursed from the World Bank. Honorable Speaker, in some of the counties, there is duplication of activities. You find the same activities presented for FLOCA is the same activity that the county government is presenting as done by their environmental departments. And so the committee must address the use of these funds, and it must be clear and separated which activities are they using from the funds that are being given by the World Bank. Honorable Speaker, from the counties that we have even looked at the Lands Committee, it is very clear that things are not very clear. There's no clarity in the activities that the counties are taking, and so, Honorable Speaker, I want to support this based on the importance of the environment in this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Abbas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Just a minute, Senator.
Honorable Speaker, I want to also join my colleagues to...
A minute, Senator Abbas. Senator Osotsi, you must be wondering why you're on top of the dashboard and why your name is on top in the list, and I haven't called out. I have a communication that concerns you. So unless we deal with that, you have to hold your horses. Senator Abbas, you may proceed.
Honorable Speaker, thank you so much. I think I want also to support the statement from the minority leader and the Senator for Kilifi. Honorable Speaker, the drought situation in this country is actually worrying. And as you are aware, drought in this country has become cyclic. But unfortunately, we don't have any early warnings and early plannings for drought interventions. Honorable Speaker, the situations in Mandera, Wajir, and northern Kenya, entire northern Kenya, is very pathetic situation. And unfortunately, the other thing is that people move with vehicles through. People fly all over the country. The minister for Asal and Honorable Ruku flies all over. Shoppers crisscrossing the country. The amount of money that is being used for hiring planes and is actually so much money. The vehicles being used, tracking food, from here is just enormous resources. Honorable Speaker, we need to have a proper planning and interventions for this country. Disaster management and drought interventions should be earlier planned. The food, now that many kids are going out to school, they're dropping out of school because of lack of food. They are able not to go to school because most of their families are shifting away. Honorable Speaker, we cannot use drought situations and give family relief as a political means of, way of campaigning. It has actually become a campaign tool, and it's sort of sympathizing with issues of the droughts. You go everywhere, the people stand up and say, talking about politics, when they give out food to the poor people. Those people don't need all that kind of politics. They don't know about the second term. They don't know about second term. What they need is the food, actually, and water. So I think I'll request those ministers and those people who go around the issue food should stop even going to the press. It's actually shame for a country that cannot even feed its own people. And then you can keep on campaigning and say, we need to do this, we need to have a second time, we want to, no. People are hungry. This how, as rightly said by my colleague here, we cannot be able to go to Singapore in a way when people are hungry. A country that cannot be able to feed itself cannot be talking about going to Singapore. And therefore, I would request the Minister for Asal and those who are going around to stop the public relations distribution of food. Because you are even embarrassing us, actually. You are telling the world that this country is going hungry every day. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Now, honorable senators, we have utilized the 15 minutes allocated to this session. I have a communication to make regarding the senator for Vihiga County, Senator Osots. Now, honorable senators, as you may recall, at the sitting of the Senate held on Thursday, 19th of February 2026, the Deputy Speaker directed Senator Godfrey Osotsi, MP, to substantiate utterances made while commenting on a statement sought by Senator Samson Chiranke, MP, on the status of Independent Policing Oversight Authority (IPOA) investigations into extrajudicial killings and abuse of police authority. The direction was as a result of a point of order by the Senator for Singishu County, the Honorable Jackson Mandago, MP, pursuant to Standing Order 105. As honorable senators are aware, Standing Order 105 states as follows: a senator shall be responsible for the accuracy of any facts that the senator alleges to be true and may be required to substantiate any such facts instantly. If a senator has sufficient reason to convince the Speaker that the senator is unable to substantiate the allegation instantly, the Speaker shall require that such senator substantiates the allegations not later than the next sitting day, failure to which the senator shall be deemed to be disorderly within the meaning of Standing Order 121, unless the senator withdraws the allegations and gives a suitable apology if the Speaker so requires. Now, honorable senators, in the point of order, Senator Osotsi MP was required to substantiate the following statement, and I quote, "I am aware that the same police are planning mayhem in Kakamega. I warn them in this House that if any individual in Kenya loses his life in Kakamega, we will blame the government of William Ruto for the killing. I'm aware because I have received reports that a certain principal secretary is holed up in Kisumu, organizing goons to disrupt our meeting in Kakamega. We will blame this government if something wrong happens in Kakamega." End of quote. Now, honorable senators, upon being challenged by Senator Jackson Mandago MP, Senator Osotsi MP was not able to substantiate his statement as required pursuant to Standing Order 105.1. He subsequently requested the Deputy Speaker to provide the evidence at the next sitting day in accordance with Standing Order 105.2. Having acceded to the request, the Deputy Speaker directed that the Honorable Senator substantiate the statement at the next sitting day. Accordingly, and pursuant to Standing Order 105.2, I now invite Senator Godfrey Osotsi MP to forthwith substantiate the claim in the statement he made, failure to which the Senator shall be deemed to be disorderly within the meaning of Standing Order 121. In the absence of such substantiation, the Senator will be required to withdraw the statement and apologize to the Senate. Senator Osotsi, you may proceed to substantiate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think I need your guidance because I made that statement last Thursday, and the event in Kakamega has since taken place, and I've received, and I'm continuing to receive, overwhelming evidence about the involvement of this principal secretary in planning of violence, including, Mr. Speaker, the blockage of Kisumu International Airport by thugs and police officers, and including, Mr. Speaker.
Let me help you, because you're making further utterances that demand substantiation. You're not helping yourself. There's a statement, and I've even given you the quote. Proceed to give evidence on that particular statement.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to be useful to this country and this House. That's why I'm requesting for more time. But some of the things I said, Mr. Speaker...
If Senator Osotsi, if we are seeking time, say so. Stop
Yes.
making other statements.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I need a week to compile the evidence, and some of the evidence is classified evidence.
And you have to know that you cannot contribute, you cannot take part in any debate in this House if such a matter is pending. Are you aware of that?
Mr. Speaker, you see, the standing orders give me a leeway to ask for more time. Clarification, Mr. Speaker.
Which standing order?
Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable senators. This is a matter touching on Senator Osotsi. He's on the floor. Now, Senator Spooner, I'm the speaker, I'm not Omwan.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable senators, order.
Mr. Speaker, I take this matter to be a very weighty matter. If we look at what is happening in Haiti, Mr. Speaker,
Senator Osotsi,
and people
to substantiate or not?
I just want more time, Mr. Speaker, for us to get adequate information about what I'm talking about. Mr. Speaker, if you give me more time, I'm ready to comply and give enough information to this country and this House. Because someone died in Mbale, someone died in Kakamega.
I'm trying to look for a provision where I can give you that 1 week you require. Because this is how the standing order is crafted. If a senator has sufficient reason to convince the speaker that the senator is unable to substantiate the allegations instantly, the speaker shall require that such senator substantiate the allegations not later than the next sitting day. Failure to which, now listen to this, failure to which the senator shall be deemed to be disorderly.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I think you have standing order number 1, which allows you to give more time.
Order, Senator Fernandi. Senator Fernandi, you're disorderly, and I'm giving you a warning for the day. Now, Senator Osotsi, you cannot seek recourse. You cannot hide behind standing order number 1. Because standing order number 1 is for instances where they are not provided for in the standing order. Your instance is well provided for in our standing orders. You are either to substantiate. If you're unable to do so, you apologize. If you cannot do that, then I will rule you disorderly and proceed to
Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to apologize for the obvious. It is very clear, those who come from that region, so I and Governor Orengo, we were almost killed by police at the Royal Swiss Hotel, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have gangs being trained in Kisumu. Even
Senator Osotsi, I don't see why you're losing your cool. Absolutely. Because you're doing so well. I don't see why you're losing your cool. We are doing, this is a house of order. We have our standing orders. And I've told you, just point to me a standing order that allows me, as your speaker, to give you 1 week.
Mr. Speaker, the point I wanted to make is that this is a very serious matter because it's bordering on national security, where an international airport was blocked for 5 hours by a gang of young men with the pangas. And even a hotel where I was staying in Kisumu, gunshots were heard at the entrance.
Senator Osotsi, if the speaker, you're a seasoned politician. You've been in this house a bit longer. You understand the standing orders. I take it that you're unable to substantiate. So I'll give you a chance to apologize. If you're unable to apologize, say so that I proceed on the next limb.
Mr. Speaker, I even have witnesses which I'm ready to produce before this House, if you allow me, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed.
That's why I wanted more time, Mr. Speaker, so that I can bring the witnesses to give evidence before this House.
Now, Senator Osotsi, I'm afraid that as the chair, I'm unable to accede to your request for 1 week, because I can only do so if that power is given to me pursuant to our standing orders. And our standing orders do not give me that latitude. Having failed to substantiate and having refused to apologize and withdraw, I will rule you to be disorderly, and I will ask you to leave the chamber for the rest of the day. Yes, Senator Boni and Senator Anokombua, what issues do you have?
Mr. Speaker, the matter is settled. But as Parliament, we need to reflect on the importance of what is in public domain. Mr. Speaker, a member of your House was blocked from landing into an international airport in Kenya. You need to reflect. You need to reflect that armed goons were waiting for your members. Mr. Speaker, you need to reflect on the fact that the itinerary by credible airports was shared by the security organs. You don't want to wait until a member of this House is dead when you now call for a special hour for us to give condolences. It is bigger than just throwing members out of the House. We come from that part of the world, and we saw those things.
No,
Mr. Speaker.
Senator Boni, you know, if you take to the floor in this Senate and make a statement, certainly you must be having some facts behind that statement. And those are the facts that we needed to hear from the Honorable Osotsi. If you're unable to give us those facts, as the chair, my hands are tied. Senator Enoch.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just two issues on that matter. And while you were away, we had a similar situation last week, where the Senator for Nandi made allegations that he could not substantiate. And then he just decided to say, I withdraw and apologize. But the damage was already done. And I tried to raise a point of order to get the Speaker to guide us. The Speaker, perhaps there is need for the office of the Speaker, when you retreat to the chamber, to reflect on these issues and maybe guide the House. Because, the Speaker, what will happen is this. I will have the floor. I will say certain things against Senator Cheruiyot, knowing very well that what I'm saying is not true. I will wait for you to tell me to substantiate. I'll say I'll substantiate the next sitting. I'll come here and say, I withdraw and apologize. But the damage is already done. That's one. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, it's very easy. It's very easy to invoke the provisions of the standing order and send a member out if that's what the standing order says. But, Mr. Speaker, there is something called context. We have a role, Mr. Speaker, in this House, all of us, to try as much as we can to de-escalate the political temperatures in this country. On Sunday, Mr. Speaker, I almost got seriously injured when some thugs threw a stone on the windscreen of my car at a rally in Nairobi. The Speaker, let your office, because you are our leader in this House, you are the Speaker of this House, reflect on these issues and give us direction on how do we deal with a situation where a member is seriously concerned about their own security beforehand, and it actually happens, and perhaps they have no way of bringing hard evidence before the House and say this is a photo of the PS sitting in a meeting and planning this. But there's context. It happened. The people saw it. Everybody saw it. So how do we deal with situations like that, Mr. Speaker, in a manner that we don't encourage us as leaders in this House to be careless with our speeches, but also protects us, the dignity of this House, and de-escalates the political temperatures in this country? Mr. Speaker, I submit.
No, honorable senators, in such instances, if you don't have the full information, the only logical way to handle such a matter is to seek a statement from the relevant committee so that they can dig in and give us the right position. Because according to our standing orders, once you make a statement, you must be in a position to substantiate. That is our standing orders. If you feel you don't have enough material or enough information or enough facts to back up your statement, the best thing is to seek a statement from the relevant committees of the House. At least they have the latitude of, calling the responsible officers, investigate the matter, and share with us, you know, a report that carries some facts that they have gone out there to collect. But, honorable senators, we cannot shelve our standing orders. If you make a statement, be ready to substantiate. And if you cannot substantiate, be ready to be deemed disorderly or be ready to withdraw. Now, I get it from Senator Wambua, and it is something that we grappled with today when he sat as a panel, the speaker's panel, where a member takes to the floor, they make a bizarre statement and apologize. But you see, the damage has already been done. And that's why our standing orders do not just talk about apology. It talks about a suitable apology. Because once you make a damaging statement, you cannot just say, I withdraw and apologize. The apology must be suitable to the kind of statement that you've made. I think let's leave it there, honorable senators. Next order. Now, there are two reports that are supposed to be laid on the table by the Chair, Finance and Budget, and also the Chair, Energy Committee. You may proceed, starting with the Chair, Finance and Budget.
Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Chair of Finance and Budget, Senator Roba, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the Senate today, the 24th February, 2026. 1, report of the Senate Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the 2026 Budget Policy Statement. And number 2, report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the 2026 Medium-Term Debt Management Strategy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is by the Chairperson, Standing Committee on Finance and Budget.
Okay, proceed also to give notice on the same.
Thank you once again, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the 26th Budget Policy Statement, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 24th February 2026, and pursuant to Section 25(7) of the Public Finance Management Act, and Standing Order number 186.8, the Senate approves the 2026 Budget Policy Statement. Equally, Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the 2026 Medium-Term Debt Management Strategy, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 24th February 2026, and approves the 2026 Medium-Term Debt Management Strategy. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairperson, Energy Committee.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the Senate today, 24th February 2026. Report of the joint sitting of the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Energy and the Senate Standing Committee on Energy on the consideration of the Field Development Plan and Production Sharing Contracts for Block T6 and T7 in South Logichar Basin, Turkana County. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that the Senate adopts the report of the joint sitting of the National Assembly Departmental Committee on Energy and the Senate Standing Committee on Energy on the consideration of the Field Development Plan and the production sharing contracts for blocks T6 and T7 in the South Logichar Basin, Turkana County, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 24th, 2026, and pursuant to Article 71(1) of the Constitution and Section 31, Subsection 1 and Subsection 2 of the Petroleum Act, the Senate ratifies the Field Development Plan and the production sharing contracts for blocks T6 and T7 in South Logichar Basin, Turkana County. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 11, the Kenya National Council for Population and Development Bill, National Assembly Bills number 72 of 2023. Second reading, mover to reply.
Senate Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to reply. Mr. Speaker, further, in accordance to Standing Order number 66.3, I beg to request that the putting of a question be deferred to a later date.
Okay. Now the putting of the question is deferred. I will now further rearrange today's order paper and proceed to order Where's Chair Jalak? Okay, we'll handle order number 15. Okay, 14, 15. We'll handle those two orders, then we resume the normal flow.
Order number 14, motion. Consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the election offenses. Amendment number 2 bill, Senate Bills number 28 of 2024.
Chairperson Jalak.
Honorable Speaker, I'm standing in for Chairperson Jalak, and I beg to move that the National Assembly amendments to the Election Offences Amendment number 2 bill, Senate Bills number 28 of 2024, be now considered. Honorable Speaker, this is a procedural motion that paves way for Senate to consider the amendments by the National Assembly at Committee of the Whole stage. I will therefore proceed to give just a brief background and context to the current motion. The Election Offences Amendment number 2 Bill 2024 was one of the bills that came out of the NADCO process. The bill was published on 7th May 2024 and was read a first time in the Senate on Thursday, 4th July 2024. The bill was considered and passed by Senate with amendments on 19th November 2024, following which it was referred to the National Assembly for concurrence. The National Assembly likewise considered the bill and passed it with amendments on 14th August 2025. These amendments were then transmitted to the Senate for its concurrence. Honorable Speaker, the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights Committee considered the amendments by the National Assembly to the said clauses, following which we tabled our report in the Senate on Tuesday, 2nd December 2025. In our report, we recommend that the Senate rejects the amendments by the National Assembly to clauses number 2 and clause number 4 of the Elections Offences Amendment number 2 Bill 2024. The primary reason for this is that while the Senate undertook extensive public participation on the bill, which informed the amendments effected by the Senate at the Committee of the Whole House stage, the amendments by the National Assembly seek to undo the Senate amendments and to largely reinstate the bill to the version as was originally published. Rejecting the amendments by the National Assembly will enable the bill to be referred to a mediation committee, at which point we will develop a version of the bill that may be passed by both houses. Honorable Speaker, if I can just give a view of the amendments, the clause number 2 and clause number 4. Clause number 2 had amended Section 6 of the Election Offences Act to define offenses relating to delay, failure to declare results, and how polling stations are handled, including whether conducting polling outside the gazetted published stations is criminal. Clause 2A on results declaration and reasonable time, vis-a-vis unreasonable delay. What the National Assembly amendment does, it reintroduces the concept of unreasonable delay test by expanding the offense so that an officer can commit an offense not only by failing to declare results, but also by delaying beyond what is considered reasonable. What the Senate through JLAC had proposed was to remove the concept of unreasonable delay standard and anchor the offense on clear fixed timelines already in law, namely presidential results to be declared within 7 days as per constitution. So an amendment must not be introduced to exchange the 7 days with unreasonable delay. Other elections should be declared immediately after close of polling station. Why the committee recommends rejection of the National Assembly position, unreasonable delay is inherently subjective in a criminal provision and creates interpretative and enforcement uncertainties and risks in consistent application, whereas the constitutional and statutory timelines offer certainty and enforceability within the 7 days. The next clause is clause 2C, Honorable Speaker, on polling stations, offense linked to conducting polling outside the published station. What the National Assembly amendment does, it restores a specific offense that targets IEBC staff who conduct or hold an election in a polling station that was not duly published or gazetted and publicized. What the Senate through JLAC have proposed instead is to remove the ungazetted polling station offense and focus criminal liability on deliberate misconduct, namely knowingly interfering with, altering, destroying, or concealing election materials or declared results, or causing another person to do so. While the committee recommends now rejection of the National Assembly position, the existing legal framework already anticipates disruption and permits lawful adjournment or relocation of polling in limited circumstances with reporting obligations. A strict ungazetted published station offense is viewed as an overly prescriptive and may unintentionally criminalize legitimate operation relocation rather than targeting intentional manipulation or interference. The other clause, Honorable Speaker, is clause number 4, which deals with electronic communication used to coerce political participation. What Clause 4 deals with, it introduces a new offense specifically targeting digital electronic coercion. What Senate amendment provides, it criminalizes willful communication intended to induce or compel a person to refrain from becoming a candidate or withdraw from candidacy, be influenced on how to vote, including discouraging voting for a candidate or party of choice, or be impeded from nomination. What National Assembly did, it deleted Clause 4, arguing that interference with political rights is already covered under existing offenses. That is bribery, undue influence, intimidation, and interference with canvassing or campaigning. Why the committee recommends rejecting the National Assembly deletion is because existing offenses cover general conduct, but do not expressly capture electronic communication as a distinct and fast-growing method of coercion and manipulation. Retaining Clause 4 makes the law tech responsive and improves clarity for enforcement in the digital space. Bottom line, why this committee recommends, our committee recommends rejection of the National Assembly position on Clause 2 and 4. It is the committee's position that National Assembly amendments largely roll back the Senate's public participation informed approach by reintroducing a vague and reasonable delay standard, reinstating an overly rigid polling station publication offense that can clash with lawful relocation safeguards, and removing a targeted electronic coercion offense meant to address modern realities of campaigning and intimidation. So, Honorable Speaker, based on those reasons that I have given, Honorable Speaker, we do ask that these recommendations by National Assembly be rejected. And I therefore, Honorable Speaker, beg to move that the National Assembly amendments to the Election Offences Amendment Number 2 Bill, Senate Bills Number 28 of 2024, be now considered. And I call upon, let me call upon Senator Chiralige to second.
Senator Chirarke.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I rise to second this motion that has been brought by my former committee of JLAC, and I want to thank the Speaker, Senator Veronica Maina, for ably moving. Madam Speaker, as I rise to second in a few minutes, I think we are over-legislating, and I agree with the committee's finding of the position. Because even in the presidential election, Madam Speaker, the timeline has been provided as 7 days, even including the petition. The presidential petition has already been provided for, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, reading of Article 86, and that is why I was wondering why the National Assembly were introducing unconstitutional clauses, which I find that the JLAC.
Honorable members, please consult in very low tones. Let's hear Senator Chirarke.
Madam Speaker, I find it that the National Assembly sat and tried to rewrite the Constitution, because the issue of timeline of presidential election and announcement is already provided by the Constitution, Madam Speaker. That's 7 days. Reading of Article 86, Part C, it says the results from the polling stations are openly and accurately collected and promptly announced by the returning officer. So the key word there, Madam Speaker, is promptly. So the introduction that they wanted in this report that I've seen, And I'm happy that the committee has rejected these amendments of the National Assembly that they tried to in the Elections Offences Act, number 2 Bill of 2024, as I second, Madam Speaker, is unnecessary in terms of undelayed timeline. Because, Madam Speaker, as Senator Maina has said, the Election Offences Act of 2016, number 37, has already provided for these offences in place. Madam Speaker, the issue of ungazetted polling stations is very clear, because every time, Madam Speaker, all the polling stations, and I think Kenya is synonymous of using or gazetting primary schools or learning institutions or other public institutions, are a place for the polling centers where members of the public can go and vote, Madam Speaker. I find it, this is very clear. The elections are very clear. The Offences Act is very clear on the same. And therefore, the rejection of this clause number 2 is already provided for, and therefore the Elections Offences Act of 2016 is guarded for. For the alteration, doing elections outside a gazetted area, Madam Speaker, the law, the Elections Offences Act has ably put it in place. And I think even if you look at the extrapolation of Section 6 of 2016, it covers all of them. And in fact, to a conviction of around 2 million Kenya shillings or to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years or both. So, Madam Speaker, what the National Assembly, and all of us have to agree in an upshot, Madam Speaker, that this issue of election, we are over-legislating. Madam Speaker, I've said in this House for some time now, every session, these members of Parliament want to always amend the Elections Act. Every session. And Senator Manso, when he was in the lower house, knows how we have had protracted, even at some point in the lower house, Madam Speaker, water was being poured to the temporary speaker, may her soul rest in peace, the former governor of Bomet, Governor Dr. Joyce Laboso. Madam Speaker, it has been a motive. Even looking at the Kriegler reports, the issue of formation of commission, the history of IPPG in this country, Madam Speaker, where even it I reached, Madam Speaker, I remember on a lighter note, you remember the Chebukati-led commission. We thought, we looked around until we asked ourselves, when we came in the last session, we put in the law that the selection panel should be led by the religious members, by people who are religious, who are professed, who are the bishops and leaders and sheikhs. But when there was an outcome of Chebukati-led commission being constituted, people lost hope. People did not believe that the selection panel that was chaired by religious men and women at that point that put in Chebukati-led commission could put in place. Madam Speaker, I strongly believe, having participated in several elections, and of course won 100% in them, Madam Speaker, I want to confirm the problem we have in this country is deficit of trust. It is not about the commission. It is not about the commissioners. It's not about Kenyans. Our political rights are anchored in Article 38. Article 86 provides that the election process should be simple, verifiable, and accurate, Madam Speaker. The problem we face in this country, even in the Kriegler report, is the deficit of trust. Madam Speaker, I was watching the other day, you know, we went to Brazil some times back when I was the chair, JLAC, and we visited and went and studied on how the electoral process of Brazil operates. And I remember at that time, the current president, Yusuf da Silva, Lula, we went and met them. He was incarcerated. The president then was Bolsonaro. They call Trump of the North of America, Madam Speaker. And I reached a point that system is so efficient, Madam Speaker, by the time you close a polling station at 5 in Brazil, within few minutes you know who is the winner. From all the elections up to the president. And that is why, funnily enough, President Bolsonaro, before it was defeated by Lula, wanted that system that has been developed by the Brazilians to be changed to the paper, just the way what President Trump wanted. So, but when you talk to the systems of elections in the Brazil, Madam Speaker, they are very efficient. They are very accurate. And they have developed their own system, which they believe, so that we don't have cases of Jose Carmago, the Venezuelan Smartic issue, Madam Speaker, that has given the credibility. And you remember, Madam Speaker, when the Dian of Kenyan politics, His Excellency Right Honorable Amolo Odinga at point has been the boiling point that the servers be open. Although Kenyans misinterpreted servers to mean other things in the streets there. Because at that time when the Supreme Court matter was being listened, you remember we were being told in France people are sleeping. We are in the Supreme Court, Madam Speaker. The reason this country, Madam Speaker, is the deficit of trust, is the belief in the institutions, Madam Speaker. And as I conclude, I want to borrow the words of when President Obama came to Egypt and addressed that the reason first world countries develop is they have so much belief in their institutions as to oppose to their personalities. And that is what is facing this country. And I want to appeal, Madam Speaker, as we agree with the findings of the Committee of the JLAC that has been moved ably by the Senator Veronica Maina, Madam Speaker, who is running also for the Women Rep of Muranga, that we agree that the report, Madam Speaker, but I have encouraged her to run for governor, who said women must only run for Women Rep. They should run for governor, a better seat, so that we can see more things. Because this report has provided, and I think, Madam Speaker, and I want, luckily the majority leader is in the House. The reason we have differed in the National Assembly are based on constitutional principles. It is not about our differences in terms of our roles. Because I know people will report that there is supremacy between the National Assembly and the Senate. Far from it. If you look at this report, Madam Speaker, and I have it, they have anchored their reasoning on the Constitution. They have anchored their reasoning on the President, on the conditions, on the history, Madam Speaker, of the election process in this country. And I want to give an advice. I've seen my brother, my very good friend, who is the leader of prayer breakfast in Parliament, Senator Manzo. And I want to advise him, in the words of the National Assembly Speaker, that when you see crowd, don't think they are voters. They must have come to get shocked to want to see who are these people. Madam Speaker, and I saw today in some news that even members of public agree. So as you walk around the country, even in Kisii, Madam Speaker, those people who came out in Kisii, Madam Speaker, just were amazed. They want to see who are these people. Who are these people, Madam Speaker? And I want to thank the majority leader. He appropriately answered a number of them. Because, Madam Speaker, I'm surprised, in conclusion, that us as politicians, there are people who want to go to the elections, but they are already attacking the referee. Yesterday, I watched Manu versus Everton, Madam Speaker, in the evening. Although Manu just scored, I think, through somebody called Cunha, Madam Speaker, 1-0 yesterday, Manchester versus Everton. You can imagine. They won by 1 goal. They did not score so much. 1 goal. And it was just out of... but they got the points, but imagine if Manchester United or Everton, Madam, started beating up the referee. There would be no game or licensed. So in any election, I have seen the members of United Opposition have started beating drums of attacking the IBC, of attacking the ref. Then if you don't believe in the process of election, why would you participate in the election, Madam Speaker? That is the whole point. Don't attack the ref, don't attack the linesman. If you are a spectator, we don't want to see. We want us to believe in our institutions. Whether Manzo is the chair of IBC or you, Madam Speaker, which you have vast experience because you have been in the oldest political party in this republic as a very senior member. And I'm happy the person who moved this motion is the People's Secretary General, former SG. And Madam Speaker, on a lighter note, this house is becoming two formers. Now we had a former SG of ODM, now we have former SG of UDA, and I know there are people, even former chief whip, you know, people are becoming formers without realizing, Madam Speaker. So that is why I'm saying we must believe in the institution, the IBC that has been provided. And I want to appeal to our colleagues, and I know, Senator Manzo, you are a good man. I saw you praying in America. If your prayers have reached America, you should believe in the electoral process of this country. We don't want to, Madam Speaker, to believe in an institution. If we attack IBC today, and I saw them presenting their budget policy statements to the National Assembly, I think they want 40 billion plus. What we should be pushing, colleagues, is to give capacity and ability to IBC in terms of adequate funding so that they can do continuous voter registration, they can build capacity of their staff and the commission so that they can do a credible process instead of attacking and undermining the IBC, Madam Speaker. So I want to believe that this report, Madam Speaker, is also emanating, if I'm reliably informed, from the NADCO reports, one of them, Madam Speaker. Let us sort, but to the Kenyans, the problem is not with the elections law. The problem is with us that do not believe or have a mistrust among ourselves, Madam Speaker. With those many remarks, Madam Speaker, allow me to end there, and I beg to second. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the National Assembly amendments to the Election Offences Amendment number 2 Bill, Senate Bills number 28 of 2024 be now considered. Senator Manzo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute on a very, very, very important report. Madam Speaker, when IBC appeared before the Senate committee of JLAC, where I sit, you know the law relating to voting under the Constitution is Article 86, which reads that at every election, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission shall ensure that A, whatever voting method is used, the system is simple, accurate, verifiable, secure, accountable, and transparent. Madam Speaker, based on this Article 86 and the following articles which deal with election, every report which is made and every law which is made in relation to election, Madam Speaker, must conform to this simple policy of the Constitution. And it is very important that the arbiter is also must be seen, you know, not to be influenced, must be seen to be fair. And for them to be able to give us election results which are simple and verifiable, then also the cost of the election must be borne by the country and must be reasonable cost of election. It should not be expensive or, you know, very expensive election costing billions of shillings. The printing materials and the procurement of the same must be safe and the cost must be reasonable. We are aware that elections are won or lost at the polling station. And the system we have, just like Senator Chiregei has spoken about the systems in other countries, at every polling station, we should know who won and who lost the election. That's where it begins. But now when it comes to transferring of the election, problems begin to mount. And when you have the Jose Camargos of this world and their system, Madam Speaker, there is likely to be a problem. I have been in the election petitions since 2013, and in 2017, the Supreme Court ruled that the election was not free and fair. It had electoral malpractices, and the presidential elections were nullified, Madam Speaker. And even statements have been made. The person who really takes care of an election is the member of parliament. And if you see the votes of the member of parliament should not, in a polling station, should not vary so much with the votes of the presidential candidate. If they vary, then there is likelihood of malpractice, and it is important that the register be updated, Madam Speaker. When the register is not updated, there is likelihood of dead voters voting, and it has happened before. We knew a mother of a prominent Kenyan, a member of parliament, who had passed on just before the elections. But after election, when we went to check the paperwork in that police station where she used to vote, we found that she had raised from the dead, gone and voted, and went back to the grave. So those malpractices do exist. They are there. Dead people do vote. And Madam Speaker, this happens after 5 a.m. in the strongholds of candidates. In fact, in the 2017 election, there had been cheating in 38 constituencies for presidential vote on one side and 16 constituencies of presidential vote on the other side. You know, so that it's like the presidential candidates were competing on cheating. And this is done by collusion at the polling station after 5. And therefore, it is unfortunate when we scrutinize during court trials and you find that there is electoral malpractice. So first and foremost, we want the Electoral Commission to make sure that there is no cheating in the country. And that's why the United Alternative Government is clear that the arbiter must be seen to be free and fair. And after 2 visits to the IBC, I have realized this is a team actually the country can rely on. We had accused them of being a commission belonging to William Ruto, but now we are convinced that there are Kenyans there. And the person who had a problem with Marjan has left on his own volition, which is a good sign that good things are coming. But the next CEO, who is very important, must be a person who cannot be influenced, must be a person who will not misadvise the commissioners, must be a person who Kenyans can trust, and in the event we don't trust him, then we have to voice it out, Madam Speaker. We cannot just keep quiet and we are going to participate in this election. In fact, the biggest clients of the Electoral Commission are political parties. So every coalition, every political party is free to visit and make their case with the IBC. No one is stopped from visiting the IBC. So when the United Opposition visits the IBC, they visit because they are stakeholders of the election, and they need to be sure, and they need to make proper presentations. And electoral offenses have not been taken seriously in this country. If electoral offenses and the punishments thereof were prohibitive, people will be careful not to mess. We have seen elections with violence. We have seen, even in Kisii yesterday, people plotting violence against opposition leaders, alternative government leaders, visiting the people. Why will you attack them? Why will anybody plan an attack on Sifuna when he's going to meet people? You should let Sifuna have his meeting, and any other person who wants to go to Kakamega do a meeting, also do their meeting, and let the best man win. But, Madam Speaker, that is not what we have seen. There is trend of violence, and there is trend of killings. And what I want to tell Senator Cheregai is that for every one person you kill because of politics, the person alleged to be accused of that killing loses votes. By the time you mourn that person, by the time you bury that person, it's all political. Kenyans are making their mind as to where they will vote. And the IBC must also come up with proper mechanism of promoting and educating voters. Voter education, Madam Speaker, has been missing. We are aware that voter registration will start massively and to every police station on 29th March after Ramadan is over. So I really want to call upon the Sifuna followers and all the young people in this country to go and register as voters, because finally it is the vote which counts. You can shout as much as you want one term or whatever terms you want to shout, but so long as you are not voting on the voting day, your effort is totally a waste of time. And I think now it's a time the young people and the 8 million Kenyans who did not vote last time should be very upset with how things are being done currently, and wake up very early to go and vote and bring a just government of the people. It is not going to be easy for anyone to put this country back to track. I saw the president yesterday say that his focus is on the ball. But unfortunately, with the golf ball, sometimes you, especially if you are an amateur, you hit it and it goes into the forest. Are you still focusing on the ball? We must really listen to Kenyans, do the right things for Kenyans. Kenyans have seen election violence. Kenyans should not die because of election, because of politics. Kenyans should not bury their loved ones because of politicians and because of misuse of the police force, Madam Speaker. We should all feel free to go and vote. We have seen violence in police stations in certain parts of the country, whereby, in fact, violence is so much unleashed on one side so that one candidate is totally disadvantaged, and that one favors members of parliament be elected, or the governors, and also it goes a long way also to favor a presidential candidate. And this matters when they are taken to court. Sometimes all the evidence doesn't come out in court. And therefore, there is every need, Madam Speaker, that we have a proper electoral law in the country, that a law everyone can rely on. And we have also seen a new trend where the law doesn't matter anymore, where procedures don't matter anymore for politicians, where every politician's pretense is above the law, organizes and unleashes violence on opponents. I think, Madam Speaker, if an election is won fairly and squarely, then the other Kenyans, if you have a complaint, you file an election petition and voice it out. If there is no complaint, then the government which has been elected should be allowed to serve. It should not, violence should not be unleashed unnecessary to voters during the voting exercise. So I really want to challenge IBC, and I am praying for them that they get the budgets and the amount of money they need to plan a good election. We want to know the security of the ballot paper, the security of and the integrity of the electoral process, so that no extra ballots are printed or no extra boxes are taken into police stations. Violence is caused, blackouts are caused, and later on when votes are counted, it is a different story. As a person who have done election petitions since 2002, I am aware that every election is stolen in a way, even a member's election. And that's why people file election petitions. That's why we have by-election like we had one in the coast. What happens is the candidates who succeed, they are voted for overwhelmingly, such that the thieves of the election still and are unable to finish all the votes. That's what happens in a lot of times. That's what happens in a lot of times. It is true, Senator for Bungoma, I can assure you, you are overwhelmingly elected, but I'm happy to hear the point of order.
Senator Wakoli, what's your point of order?
Standing Order 105, statement of fact. Can Senator Maanzo as a serious prayer warrior, an intercessor who communicates to God every day, even now, confirm to us how you stole elections, if you have ever stolen. That it's a fact that people steal elections in Kenya. Can he justify
Senator
using
Manzo,
his
do you want to?
holiness title?
Yes,
You want
what
to-
I usually do in Makueni, because you cannot have a perfect 100% election in this country. And I'll tell you the malpractices. First, there are people and their agents on a polling day giving 100 shillings outside the polling station. In fact, there are people, Madam Speaker, who only spend millions of shillings on the election day only. So what I do, I pray my God, and I mobilize so many votes without paying. My election is usually the cheapest.
Senator Manzo.
Yes.
I don't think the member wants you to explain what you do. He wants you to substantiate the allegations that it's a fact that elections are stolen.
Yes, I will substantiate and I will say, if that's what I do myself, and what I do is I put together so many votes so that whoever is stealing from me, they will steal and there will be a balance.
Senator Manzo, you actually not understand what substantiation is.
Yes, I do.
So can you substantiate that people steal elections?
I can substantiate through the election petitions which are filed, Madam Speaker. And the best example...
Yeah, so you know them, you're the one who filed. Can you indicate one?
The election petition, the presidential election petition of 2017 ruled out that Raila Odinga's election was stolen.
Senator Wakoli, that...
I'm not convinced. He should table facts.
Senator Wakoli, I think the ruling of 2017 is in the public realm. So you can verify and come and confirm whether it is.
Speaker, did it say they were stolen?
It said clearly that the election was stolen, and that's why it was nullified. And there was another election. That's exactly what happened. So, under Senator Wakoli, I'm sure.
If this is the position of the united opposition, then we leave
Order,
them to
Senator
God.
Wakoli. Senator Wakoli, this was intended to be a substantiation. So
Yes.
what you need to do is verify the facts of the case and indicate whether he's right or not.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me go on to conclude. I really want to say that now I can hear this is generating a lot of politics. The position of alternative government is that we will talk and convince as many Kenyans as possible, as they are doing now in Kisii, to support us so that when the election comes, we'll be voted overwhelmingly, so that anybody trying to steal that election will not be able to do it at all. A lot will be left more and will win the election. I thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to support.
Senator Aaron Cheruyot.
My apologies, Madam Speaker. Senator Odi, let me use this place. This report actually by our colleagues, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, for the record I have to declare interest that I participated in the NADCO process that gave birth to this report, Madam Speaker. And therefore, as I speak, I'm acutely aware that this is a reflection of the House rejecting part of the work that we did and the justification. I think I have quickly skimmed through what are some of the concerns that people could be having with that particular phrase. And I think the bigger challenge here comes with the fluency with which this report was drafted, particularly on the phrase undue delay, Mr. Speaker. the stakeholder, if you read paragraph 15 of the overview of the stakeholders' submissions on the particular bill, which is where this report premises its arguments on, is that the stakeholders submitted that the proposed wording of unreasonable delay, quote unquote, as in clause 2A of the bill, waters down the intent of punishing delays in declaring results because it has not been clearly defined, thus rendering it prone to misinterpretation. The stakeholders further urged the committee to align with the proposed amendment with section 39(1) of the Election Act and provides that the process and timelines for tallying, announcements, and declaration of election results. It's clear that as a committee, that's a NADCO committee, because we drafted these bills, Mr. Speaker, jointly. And it was co-chaired by the party leader of Senator Maanzo and the leader of majority in the National Assembly, Mr. Speaker, that we didn't capture the spirit of perhaps the country fairly well, because that paragraph tells you the fear that many stakeholders had when they appeared before us. Remember, the NADCO committee was formed as a follow-up to the 2022 elections and the protests that emanated thereon, which has been a cycle that this country has found itself in from as far back as you can recall. I think 2007, there were similar issues, 2013, 2017, 2022. Mr. Speaker, God knows about 2027 as well. And this is part of what we were aiming to address. But it's quite clear, if you read through the observations of the various, stakeholders that appeared before Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, it is quite clear that perhaps we didn't make it as exclusive or elaborate as many citizens would have wished, because a concern by those who appeared before us was that there were many instances where declaration of results was taking longer than usual. I think if you recall last elections, there were counties where, particularly, let's say in the seat of governor, it took longer than usual. And you know there were challenges. There's a part maybe where you find an opponent has realized they've lost the election, and therefore what they do is to mobilize supporters to go before the county tallying center, Madam Speaker, and ensure that declaration is not made, because we have put so much premium on the actual declaration by either the returning officer for the presidential or for county or even lower level elections, Mr. Speaker, which is a Kenyan phenomenon that I'm yet to understand, because in many parts of the world, Mr. Speaker, particularly older democracies, you don't have this kind of archaic practices. Actually, a declaration is made independently by the various state agencies, and that holds to be the election result at that particular time. We don't have this obsession of can the returning officer declare, you know, either for constituency or for county or even the presidential. If you read, for example, the submission by IGLEA, who are one of the agencies that appeared before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, Madam Speaker, and I know for a fact that they have been involved in this litigation space around electoral matters for a while, Mr. Speaker. They posit that the proposed amendment should be consistent with the principle requiring a criminal offense to be explicitly defined to specify punishment, that it seeks to advance an offense to avoid ambiguity. You know, it urged the committee to either adopt the definition of term unreasonable delay with the meaning and the context of the proposed bill, provided specific timelines out of which the delay will be considered unreasonable. This is precisely what I'm addressing, that in our attempt to take into consideration the views by the various Kenyans who appeared before us at Bomas, Madam Speaker, asking us that we provide clarity on this issue of undue delay in declaration of results, we didn't do a fairly good job, Madam Speaker, and therefore they were asking that, number one, you must tie, because we intended in that proposed legislation to make it a punishable offense by law when you unreasonably delay declaration of election results as an elections officer. But that hasn't been properly specified. Second, and most important thing that they raise is that unreasonable delay is not fluent enough to explain that particular situation, because what I may consider to be unreasonable is not necessarily what you, Madam Chair, will consider it to be unreasonable. Many people will think that the returning officer is perhaps playing some funny games, but it may turn out that they are just counter-checking and they want to be certain and sure of how certain things are being processed. Therefore, on that account, Madam Speaker, despite the fact that I was part and parcel of those who drafted this particular bill, I agree with the wisdom of the committee and agree that we should not accede to the request of the National Assembly that the bill be passed as it is. I know there was a quote-unquote a gentleman's agreement, and Senator Maanzo, you need to check with your party leader. I'm surprised you're here pushing for the position of the committee that we do an amendment to the bill. There was a quote-unquote a gentleman's agreement at NADCO that all these bills, when they come to the House, given that they were a negotiated document, that one, they should not be amended, or if they are amended, then it should be in a bipartisan approach. I don't know whether any of those two conditions has been met for you to support. But I know you're doing your work as a legislator, which is something that is not the ambit of being covered or being waived by a gentleman's agreement, particularly other people. But I thought, given that your party chair drafted this, party leader actually rather, drafted this legislation, you'd be a bit more lenient to us. But I hear what we are being told by the committee, and I think I agree with them, Madam Speaker, that this is something we need to think about. Lastly, Madam Speaker, we must ask ourselves, how far can we go as a country to accommodate the fears of people who fear to lose elections, Madam Speaker? The IBC appeared before the Budget Committee of the National Assembly last week, I think. And I saw they were requesting for, I think, 60 billion between now and the next election. Can you imagine what 60 billion can do, Madam Speaker? And all that is processes that we have had to do and counter-do just to keep some people satisfied and to make sure that every political player feels that their wishes have been accommodated. Mr. Speaker, I have been fortunate to be part and parcel of the winning team in all the 3 terms that I've been in this House, Madam Speaker. And I know that electoral contests are not easy to win. But people must also concede that in any contest there must be a winner and a loser. We seem to be perpetuating a culture in this country, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, where people don't want to accept results. And many times they begin to speak about it even ahead of time to prepare their supporters, so that in the alternate, when they lose, they have a justification. We know these games, but we must be adults at some point and tell each other the truth, that I know I have campaigned and I have done sufficient work on the campaign trail for the citizens of the country to give me the permission to lead them, Madam Speaker. This business of drumming up, beating drums of war every now and then, oh, you'll not steal our vote. Which vote? If you believe you have sufficient vote, Madam Speaker, you go out and seek. You know, I saw a gentleman last week on Sunday bragging before the country that, oh, you know, I took care of examination and nobody stole exams. Yet is a gentleman who one is indicted by a committee of this House, that the only record they left at the Ministry of Education is that they stole public land belonging to a primary school in Ruaraka, Madam Speaker. And they want to lecture us about electoral integrity, that they will guard the votes. There is nothing, no business we in the political class have with regards to guarding of election, Madam Speaker. We need to surrender ourselves to the authority of the IBC and trust them that they are an independent constitutional commission, that the minute they have set out their responsibility and they have done it in a fair and transparent manner, Madam Speaker, we accept the results. In fact, Madam Speaker, I dare say that given the conduct of politicians in this country, Madam Speaker, part of the electoral code of conduct that IEBC gives us to commit ourselves to before subjecting ourselves to any election, Madam Speaker, must include acceptance of results, Madam Speaker. If we want to be a country that is progressive, otherwise we will end up being in a country that is pumping billions upon billions of shillings every other election cycle just to satisfy the ego of people who cannot win elections, Madam Speaker. And that cannot be allowed to perpetuate long enough. If you believe that you have sold a vision to the people of Kenya, then concentrate on ensuring that your voters turn out. They will speak through the ballot. Given our electoral system, I am deeply convinced that one of the hardest countries, Madam Speaker, to commit electoral fraud, particularly at the scale which many of the political players continue to talk about, particularly at the national level, is nearly impossible, Madam Speaker, because of the things that IBC puts in place. And I am not their spokesperson, Madam Speaker, but I just speak as a concerned Kenyan that our elections are increasingly becoming super expensive just to take care of concerns and fears of a few people, Madam Speaker, who don't have the courage of conviction to accept electoral results once they are done. Therefore, Madam Speaker, that's not the main reason why I rose to speak. I rose to agree with the committee that we didn't do a good job at the NADCO committee in terms of drafting that particular part of the bill to satisfy and meet the need or address the concern of fellow citizens. And therefore, on that account, I agree with Justice and Legal Affairs Committee that that part needs to be amended. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Kisang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, also rise to support the Jailer Committee on rejection of the amendments by National Assembly, Honorable Speaker. From the report, Honorable Speaker, the committee undertook very extensive public participation on this particular amendment, Madam Speaker, and what they have come up with is to ensure the people of Kenya know really what they want. In fact, I'm surprised by what my colleague on the other side has said, Madam Speaker, because I thought he was also a member of CHAILAC, but I don't know if he is. Madam Speaker, if you remember 2007, Madam Speaker, the elections for 2007, the then chairman of IBC, or that time the late Samuel Kivitu, Madam Speaker, said he didn't know who won. So that's why it took long for him to announce the results. And basically it cost, we almost lost the country because of what the then chair of IBC said, Madam Speaker. That is why when I look at this, I don't know if National Assembly undertook public participation, because the one by JLAC of this House, Madam Speaker, was very extensive. That is why they came up with this report, Madam Speaker. You can imagine, Madam Speaker, when you say the results to be announced and reasonably no delay or reasonable time, this is very subjective, Madam Speaker. And the law already is providing that at the close of the polling station, the results for 5 candidates, governor, senator, member of National Assembly, women rep, and MCs are announced after the counting of the votes, Madam Speaker. And the law is very clear. The one for the president should be declared not later than 7 days. But when you say unreasonable delay or reasonable time, what is this? This is very subjective. A month can be reasonable time. 2 months can be unreasonable time. So basically it means we will be putting the country in a very precarious situation, Madam Speaker. This, I agree that we reject this amendment by National Assembly and go by what our committee, JLAC, proposed, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you know, I'm surprised when people say elections are stolen. You know, as Senator Majority said, maybe we need to also amend the law to ensure when we are subscribing to the conduct of elections, Madam Speaker, we say we will accept the results. This is a game. Elections is like a game. It's like what happened yesterday. Manu played with another team and they won. It doesn't matter by how many calls or by how many votes. For the presidential, it's 50+1. You cannot say you have stolen when yourself, as a candidate, you have not campaigned enough, you are assuming you don't even have agents in polling station. So who do you expect to help you to win if you cannot even help yourself? That's why we are surprised that somebody said he took care of exams. Actually, to tell you the truth, Madam Speaker, I was a member of ICT committee, and that particular former CS, we summoned him. He was very rude when he was the CS for ICT, and we could not entertain him in our committee. So I don't know. He wants to be the president of Kenya, and basically he was unable to run the Ministry of ICT properly. And when he was the CS Interior, he terrorized Kenyans, and he was very arrogant, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, that is why this law is good, Madam Speaker. We don't expect any challenges. It's only that we need to have good conduct. We need to trust. We need to believe the referee. You don't fight the referee because you have lost, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on uncassetted polling stations, Madam Speaker, this is very clear. Polling stations in Kenya are cassetted. Public primary school, even private primary schools, churches, polytechnics, Madam Speaker, and many other places. I don't expect that polling stations will, polling will take place in uncassetted polling stations. And the law is already very clear. You target the conduct of the IBC personnel, and who would have done that? Because if there is an issue in a particular polling station, IBC should have the capacity to cassette immediately, maybe a night before, even 2 nights before, so that the residents within that area will be informed where the polling place will take place, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the digital space, Madam Speaker, this is something that people don't, I think it is sometimes not understood very well, Madam Speaker, because Madam Speaker, this is what the clause 4 says. The National Assembly is trying to delete clause 4, arguing that interference with political rights is already covered under existing offenses, bribery, undue influence. But you know, this is, Madam Speaker, if you read Computer Cybercrime and Misuse Act, it's very clearly indicated there. And this basically supports what the Jailer Committee is saying, and this will enhance. Madam Speaker, finally, what the National Assembly should be doing now is to ensure IBC is resourced very well. They need to be given money in supplementary budget so that they can undertake mass voter registration. Because for the last 3 years, we have not done mass voter registration, Madam Speaker, because IBC commissioners were not in place, but now that they are properly in place, they should undertake mass voter registration so that the 8 million youth Senator Manso is talking about, they take the votes. But I want to promise the united, confused opposition, Madam Speaker, that we will beat them by over 3 million votes, and they need to be ready to accept that they'll be beaten. So they need to prepare to come back to this House and the National Assembly as minority, because they are clueless, they don't know what is happening in the country. I thank you, Madam Speaker, and I support.
There's no other request, so can the mover reply?
Honorable Speaker, thank you for this opportunity to reply to this motion. And I want to first thank Senator Chiraligei for so ably seconding the motion. This is very important motion. Senator Chiraligei, Nandi County Senator, is a valuable resource in this House. And at any one time, he always offers what he thinks about issues. And though sometimes we may not agree, he has a clarity of thought, at least on the issues that he believes in. So I thank him for seconding this motion with a lot of information. I want to also thank Senator Manzo for also putting his contribution towards this motion. And while he may have questioned why this bill is going this way, I want to first of all agree with him on one issue, that the people who are going around shouting one term, that shouting may just be campaign, but it may not deliver the vote or the win. And I want to encourage Kenyans to actually take up the vote, because beyond the campaign period, then comes the voting, and it's the vote that determines who then becomes a leader in Kenya. And so the vote at the end of the day is what will count. And I want to assure even the National Assembly that this is not a showdown from Senate. What Senate has done is that it has looked at the proposed amendments and subjected those amendments to constitutionalism so that we keep within the legal parameters that we are supposed to observe when we are enacting the law. Thank you, Majority Leader Senator Aaron Cheriot from Kericho County, who has consistently pushed the agenda of legislation in this House with a lot of energy and a lot of intelligence. And thank you for admitting that during the NADCO process, the good intentions that were intended to be outputted by the NADCO process have still been met because these legislations were formulated following that process. But it's good you have admitted that because of the short timeline you had to complete the NADCO process, as this enactment of legislation was done or amendments were enacted, there were gaps that needed to be closed out. And when JLAC went through the legislation that was before JLAC, then we had to close out on those gaps and define so that it meets the specific needs that it was supposed, the legislation was supposed to serve. The concepts like unreasonable delay, Honorable Speaker, when that concept is introduced within just ordinary legislation that is, which is subordinate to the Constitution, then to subject it to the constitutional time limit is the correct analysis of issues and is the correct guidance of how that legislation should move. And that's why Senate JLAC has exchanged the term and the concept of unreasonable delay to lean more heavily on the 7 days timeline that has been provided by the Constitution. And indeed, we need to ponder deeply on what Majority Leader has challenged us to do as a country. How much should we be spending to assure, how much should we be spending in order to assure a loser in an electoral process that that process has been checked enough and has been fair enough for them to accept the results. Indeed, Honorable Chair, I agree with Majority Leader that Kenya is one of those countries where it should be next to impossible to commit electoral fraud. And in fact, Honorable Speaker, I have listened to even the UK, the jurisdiction in the UK on matters electoral. Honorable Speaker, they are amazed at the kind of a system we have in Republic of Kenya. And in fact, they note that they have not deployed, number one, they have not deployed technology to safeguard the process. Kenya has already deployed technology. So Kenya is advanced in many, many respects in electoral matters. And I believe NADCO process gave us an opportunity long before 2027 to streamline all the electoral laws so that we do not have those showdowns that have been there in previous elections in 1997, 2002, 2007, 2012, 2017, 2022. We should not carry on with those disputes that are unnecessary, especially when the law can be straightened out. So what JLAC has done is to ensure that the bill is meeting the standards that have been set, or the contributions that have been given by stakeholders have been taken on board. The contribution of the NADCO process are taken on board, and the Constitution is adhered to so that we do not fall outside the parameters of what would be good constitutionalism. And Honorable Speaker, I also agree with the contribution of Senator Kisang and thank him for supporting the report of the JLAC, rejecting amendments that are bringing ambiguity to the Election Offences Act. And it is like we are all agreed that if the law has to be changed, if the law has to be adjusted, then it has to be adjusted or amended in accordance with what is provided for the overarching constitutional parameters. So with those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I also want to thank your office for the support you have accorded to the committee as we proceeded with this task, and I would urge all the members to continue adhering to peaceful ways of campaigning, because the purposes of this law and the purpose of making amendments to the law is to ensure that, first of all, we are not having the kind of conflicts, Honorable Speaker, that have been coming with every electoral cycle. We are not having the kind of mayhem that we are starting to see when politicians have decided that it's time to reintroduce early campaigns. Indeed, Honorable Speaker, if we were to seek the opinion of Kenyans, we might as well discover that they may not be interested in heavy campaigning right now during this season before 2027. So mine would be, even as we amend, even as we go through these amendments and we go through this legislation, is to urge everybody that we let's tame the language we are using in public. Let's be more tolerant of the views of every person, and let's remember that everybody who's interested in any seat or in any political office is a Kenyan, and they deserve to be treated with integrity and with respect, and ensure that while we are campaigning or doing whatever it is that we are pushing, or whatever agenda it is that we are pushing within this period, we should do it in a manner that leaves Kenyans safe and that leaves nobody hurt because of the campaign period. And with those many remarks, I beg to reply. And Madam Speaker, I also beg and request that the putting of question be deferred to a later date in line with Standing Order 66.3. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The putting of the question is so deferred. Next order.
Order number 15, motion, report of the Standing Committee on Health on the county oversight and networking engagements to Mandera, Wajir, and Marsabit counties.
Chair, Standing Committee on Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I raise a motion, a report of the Standing Committee on Health on the county oversight and network engagement to Mandera, Wajir, and Marsabit County. Madam Speaker, I have a concern on this report. The report was tabled last year, but because of the elapsing of the last sessions, it was taken to this session, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I urge also our business committee, SPC, to be concerned on the depth of the report, so that at least this is a very important report to be tabled and to be done within 6 months, so that at least the county government to take the recommendations. Madam Speaker, with that concern, the committee on health conducted the county oversight network engagement in Mandera, Wajir, Garissa from 28th April to May 2025. Madam Speaker, the committee ordered to gather this evidence, some evidence and information receiving within the parliament, and the key of how it engaged with the member of the public. Madam Speaker, the committee engagements involve in the site visits to the key health facilities, direct interaction with the county leaders, the healthcare workers, and the members of the committee, the members of the public through the interactions of the committee gathered critical evidence on the advance of the healthcare personnel, the status of the medical equipment, the supplies and the effective of the emergency and the referral systems, and the implementation of digital health record. Madam Speaker, with the committee identify and visited the following healthcare in the 3 counties. In Mandera, we visited County Referral Hospital, Mandera County Referral Hospital, Elwak, Khadija Health Center, Adra Health Center, and Elwak Sub-County. In Wajir, TB Panyata, Hodan Dispensary, Wajir County Referral Hospital in Wajir County. In Marsabit County, we visited Marsabit County Referral Hospital, Mandera Marsabit County Referral Hospital. Primary goal of the committee tour were to design, to enhance the Senate's understanding of the health facility, health service delivery at the county level and provide legislative intervention. To access the overall states and the quality of the health facilities, including the infrastructure, facilities, hospital equipment, and the emergency service. Secondly, to understand the unique achievements, prevailing issues, and challenging confronting the health service delivery in the counties. Thirdly, to assess the availability of the health personnel, identify the staffing gaps, and reviewing the training and the capacity building of the programs. Fourthly, to assess the availability of the essential drugs, medical supply, review the pending bill with the KEMSA, and investigating the commodity management system. Fifth, to obtain the information on the operationalization of the SHIF, the Facility Improvement Fund, and the reimbursements, the facility accreditations, and ensure the oversight of utilization of the health resources. Sixth, to assess the automation of the health provision system for the patient's record, drugs, and the commodity management. Madam Speaker, during the oversight visit, the committee identified the several critical challenges impacting the healthcare delivery across the 3 counties. One, the health facilities suffer from the chronic shortage of staff, specifically specialists. Madam Speaker, the second one is the low moral persistence due to the poor contractual terms, prolonged lack of promotions, and the failure to promote pay, the salaries and stipend, particularly for the casual workers and HPC and community health workers. There is also untrained personnel, including CHPs, CHW, and the community health assistants who are frequently found dispensing the medical due to shortage of staff, or absence of the quality pharmacists, pharmaceutical technologies, raising significant patient safety concern and violating the Pharmacy and Poison Act. The hospital exhibits the significant infrastructural deterioration, that is including wear out of floors, leaking of the floor roofs, damaged ceilings, and inadequate sanitation facilities, missing of the water taps in the maternities and many others, and often leading to severe overcrowding and forcing mothers to share beds in the maternity wards. Medical equipment Service that's made, equipment is often in non-functions. Most of them are broken and lying idle due to lack of the three-phase electricity, inadequate technical supports, and expiry contracts, critical units like ICU, and often a lack of the requisite operation beds and equipment. Non-functional incinerator and lack of the proper disposal leads to unsafe, accumulative, and proper dumping of medical waste. Many facilities lack